Morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
We're live.
I can't see a thing.
Well, we're live, sir. We're live.
Okay. Well, good morning and hello, kits, and welcome to season 4 and episode number 394 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. Yeah. Today, recording day is Friday, May 31st, 2024. And though it's a gorgeous day outside at the Beaver Lodge, it's a very frustrating day inside because absolutely nothing technology is working. Right now, I am looking at a frozen screen with a Canadian flag and nothing on my monitors is moving one or the other.
Well, you're moving, you're crystal clear, and your sound is good.
Yep.
So that's what's important.
Nothing. Web is working right now. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. Of course, a big thank you goes to our podcast's founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. Mr. Grizzly, I'm going to ask you how your mental health is doing today, and I'm going to try and log in and out to see if I can get my screens working. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and do that, sir. Mental health wise for me, I've been fighting a bit of a battle as of late, as everyone is well aware, with my employment situation about to change radically against my decision. Contract is up. It's not being renewed. They need to save money. That's just how it goes. I'm still employed, but I don't know where I'll be on the 17th of June. So that's, a little stressful. And it's definitely weighing heavy on my mind, along with some other new recent discoveries that I've had. So, mental health wise, it's precarious, but I am coping. I'm able to get through each day. And I do the best I can on a daily basis, which is all anyone can ask of anybody, right? Just try and get through the day. Don't harm anybody or yourself, and that's a win. And I've been mostly successful at that. So I have managed to harm myself, but not intentionally. Just out walking the dog and not paying attention, and she chases after a squirrel, and I'll twist my ankle, or that sort of thing. So, yeah, any physical ailments I have are completely accidental, not intentional. So, yeah. Anyway, mental health wise, yeah, I'm it's an uphill struggle, but it's a Sisyphean struggle some days, but I'll get there. I'll just keep rolling that rock forward, and eventually I'll get to the top of the mountain and push it down the other side. Yeah, but I'm going to make sure the chain is severed first so that it doesn't pull me with it.
Oh, man, this is okay. I'm going to try to do my best, kits, but this is completely disconcerting because what I'm seeing on my screen is just completely throwing me off.
No.
Oh.
Just follow my voice. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
Remember to breathe and relax. Because after all, the only thing we can do is move forward.
Yes, but we will notice that this always seems to happen to me on the days that we have the biggest news.
Yes, I know. That's just you know what it is? It's Trudeau's fault. I had to throw that in there because it's funny. Because there's people who would literally feel that is, oh, that's just Trudeau messing with the feed. No, it's not. It's technology. Sometimes it just doesn't work the way you need it to. That's how life rolls. I've been working in tech for 35 years. No, 37 years. Holy shit, I'm old. And sometimes the tech just does not cooperate the way you want it to. And that is how life goes, unfortunately. So we'll just roll with the punches. It's all we can do. I'm going to sip my coffee and think about the wonderful day I've got ahead and the fact that it is a Friday and the sun is shining and it's going to be nice and warm today. It's going to be a beautiful spring day. I'll take that as a win. Put that in the victory column. What do you say, sir?
Yes, indeed. All right. Hopefully we will have a guest today because we had to also.
Yeah, she's here. She's in the green room.
Okay, good. Okay, perfectly. All right. Today, clearly the big news around the world and the whole world stopped for it, of course, is the conviction of Donald Trump. But there's a couple of other things that happened in the news yesterday and in the past couple of days. So we have 3 instances today of conservatives saying really stupid shit.
Yeah,
For want of a better word. And to help us with this, I couldn't think of anyone better, particularly given the Trump news, because there's going to be lots of PR things and communications angles to discuss about what this means and where we go next, than somebody who has been following this, with whom I love to geek out about comms and PR.
And I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful she's here today because I'm not typical of our typical Friday show where we can go on for 2 or 3 hours. I actually have to be in the office today at 8:30 at the absolute latest. That's my drop dead time. So I have to leave here at 8 o'clock. So thankfully, it won't be a short show because our guest will be able to help carry things with Mr. Beaver while I go, earn some money to keep paying for all of this.
So our guest is funny. Our guest is fierce. Our guest is fabulous. And of course, because it's Fly Day, she is so fly. And she has also now gone national. I don't know. She may have gotten the Beaver bump. It all happened after being on the show. But Kits and Cubs, please. Hey, it happened with Charles Adler too.
Yeah.
He came on our show and then joined the network. Maybe there's something to this Beaver bump thing. I'm just saying. But Kits and Cubs, put your paws up for the wonderful, the delightful Laura Babcock, host of the O Show. Yay! I love her so much.
Back at you, my friend. Nobody else would get me up this early.
There you go.
See, everybody gets up early for Beaver.
I love it. I was promised we'd be doing some mimosas, some Trumpenfreuden. So,
Trumpenfreuden.
Yes, exactly. I said it yesterday. Trumpenfreuden.
Cheers.
Making me glad that I'm not you. And of course, the drinks are orange.
I'll stick with my coffee.
Delicious.
Yes, we did. We
like Tim's, of course, but gotta start with mimosa.
Yes, indeed. Like this, and I do have my trusty Beaver glass with water because we must remember to remain hydrated as we celebrate. Mr. Grizzly, we didn't tell you about the orange drinks today because we knew that you had to work. I took the day off.
Yeah,
believe because me, it's a national holiday here at the Beaver Lodge.
Well, if only I could, do that. I would be happily joining you in a mimosa, but gotta go earn some money,
Yes. So, Kits and Cubs, it's 11 o'clock somewhere. the Queen Beaver has declared that today is a national holiday at the Beaver Lodge. And like every good gay that's been properly mentored by his elders, because this is going to be a long show, you need to keep your drink cold. You don't put ice, but frozen fruit. So this is a mimosa with frozen chunks of pineapple.
Well,
Really?
that is, yeah.
Brilliant. Thank
Because
you for
we should
that.
not water down a celebratory drink. That's a big no-no.
Changed my life. I mean, that might be more than the Beaver bump of taking the Osho National. Frozen fruit and mimosa. I don't know why I didn't know this for the last 51 years, dude, but
Frozen grapes, man, frozen strawberries, you just throw them in rather than ice cubes, does the trick, baby. And plus you have something to munch on after.
So one I discovered about 30, I don't know now. When did the OJ verdict come out? 93?
yeah, somewhere around there.
I was in Miami during that time when that occurred. So I was there with my sister and we were visiting my uncle, and we went to Dan Marino's sports bar in Coconut Grove, and we ordered some wings and a pitcher of beer. And our server came over and poured a glass for each of us and then dropped a Ziploc bag full of ice in the pitcher. And I thought, why have we never done this? I'm like, we're Canadians. We're all about the ice and the cold and the cold beer. And I'm like, that was brilliant because it won't water your drink down.
Right. Yeah.
But it'll keep your beer cold. I'm like, and then of course I see the tower. Have you ever seen the tower of beer you can buy?
No.
Okay, you can
No.
not everybody has them. Someplace you get them on a patio. It's a tower of beer. It's basically a pitcher, but it's a tower packed in ice, and it's got a little spout so you can pour your own drinks. It's a pitcher, is what it is. But yeah, because there's a limit on how much beer they can sell you. But yeah, I always thought that was cool. So there's drinking made easy on a Friday morning.
Well, I just have to,
Grizzly.
can I just throw in, when I was in New York a couple of years ago with speaking of New York and all things Trump, I did give the bird to Trump Tower when I was there. I'm not going to lie.
Mhm.
But when I was there with my friend, we found this bar on the top of this rooftop on Fifth Avenue, right near the Empire State Building.
Mhm.
And it was like tequila afternoon or tacos and tequila or something. And they were giving us slushies of tequila, like fruit drinks, but with little rubber duckies floating on it in bags. So we were all carrying around these bags with straws with rubber duckies. I don't know what the duck had to do with the tequila slushy, but just saying, it was delicious.
I like that. I like that.
Oh man. Laura, my dear friend. All right, there's three things I wanted to chat about. I'm not too sure how I'm going to be able to do the other ones, unfortunately, because now my computer screen has completely and totally frozen. I can't even click on anything.
So that's what you use your phone for, bud. Bring your phone up, or do you have a tablet?
Yes. So, but I already had the things drawn up now.
No,
I have to
I
look at them all over
understand.
again as I'm trying to stretch and talk.
I understand.
So, three things have happened. The last one is Trump, and we'll save him for last. But there were three things. The first thing that happened was that the Premier of Ontario yesterday bellied up to a podium and had some thoughts he would like to share about crime. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, that I'm not sure if it was over the course of the weekend or over the course of early week, there was an empty Jewish school
On Saturday.
on Saturday that somebody shot at. And that, of course, is being investigated. That's a terrible thing. That should not be happening. And just as was the case for Pierre Poilievre on the day that car flipped on the U.S. side of the border, a conservative leader decided to belly up to a podium and make some statements about events that had not been confirmed by anyone
Rather
in a
inflammatory
position of
statements.
authority who would have any information to actually be able to support that. So when Pierre did it, the car boom going boom, was obviously a terrorist attack, and the Prime Minister did not keep us safe. And in this case, the shooting was obviously done by immigrants, and by immigrants in this case, since this was a shooting of a Jewish school, I'm going to assume he means Muslims. And that, ... I guess you fill in the blanks, except there's absolutely nobody from any police authority whatsoever that has stated that anything about the identity of the perpetrators. In fact, they're saying that they know absolutely nothing about the identity of the perpetrators. In fact, someone from the OPP came up and had to go to the press themselves to make it clear that basically, I don't know what the premier is talking about, but we have no information that suggests that immigrants did this. One of the things that people used to be able to say about Doug Ford often, for all his corruption, was, well, at least he's not racist, because he seemed to want to give his phone number to absolutely everybody when he was counselor and seemed to break out his little red shovel to help anyone. But it seems that there are some things in his background that make a lot of people wonder, well, why it is he ever had that reputation in the first place. But he seems to have made a very, very big effort over the course of his career to try and portray himself as someone who would serve absolutely anybody. And it seems that the mask may have slipped a little bit yesterday, Laura. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, many. I've been swatting racist trolls all night.
Yes.
You know when something is racist when everyone who jumps out to defend it makes further racist comments, right? Like,
right.
If I didn't know it was racist when I heard it, which I did, the amount of hate and attacks I'm getting from people who are just spouting all kinds of racist and xenophobic garbage. And I know it's a paid troll attack by a lot of it, but even individuals who aren't trolls, guys, are saying to me, he's right. Immigrants have ruined the country. They're coming from terrible countries. They're bringing their crime. I mean, who does it sound exactly like what he said yesterday? Ford. I mean, not only did what Ford say yesterday sound exactly like Trump when he came down the escalator and launched his campaign in 2016, when he said, they're bringing rapists, they're not bringing their best people. Yesterday, when Trump walked out of court, having been convicted 34 times, he said, immigrants are bringing mental illness. They're coming from institutions. He said something that sounded just like what Doug Ford said yesterday. Doug Ford has no evidence that there was anyone who was an immigrant who did the crime. The Toronto police came out right away, guys, and said, no, actually, we don't know that it's an immigrant. We don't track it like that. I mean, they pushed back against the premier. He ran out with this half apology, pathetic spin of, I meant to unite. There's more that unites us.
Oh, come on.
This is not a Don Cherry moment. Someone said to me, you know what? He's gone full Don Cherry. Don Cherry was a sportscaster, said racist things. This is a premier who's supposed to be the premier for 20 million people, that has some of the highest immigration rates in the world coming into his province. And you can argue, as I have many times, guys, that Trudeau set immigration targets for the economy and to grow the country, but didn't set the supports in place. They don't have attachment to primary care. They're coming into communities wanting to work, not being able to find jobs. They can't find shelter. I mean, it's not the way we handled immigration 40 years ago. I talked to my neighbor, Tony, the other night in Punta Canada about it. He came over as a refugee, was met, given one room and some money and a job at Stelco, and built a life from there. So there aren't the supports in place for the number of immigrants who are coming to this country, whether they're economic immigrants, whether or not they're refugees, whether they're asylum seekers. And we've done a lot of this on the O Show. We've talked to experts in immigration on this issue. There is a lot to be frustrated with from a systems perspective. But the moment that you lay blame for crime or for loss of jobs or for the state of the country on these innocent people who are coming here with the promise to work, as soon as you ascribe the problems in our country, they must have brought it. The others are bringing their worst. That rhetoric is racist, and that is the kind of stuff. And I said, from that putrid soil, grow the seeds of fascism. I mean, that's fascist rhetoric, saying that these other people are lesser. They're coming into our country and they're taking from us. They are not as good as us. They are not as ethical as us. They have bad cultures. I mean, I'm getting inundated with all of those fascist narratives since I posted about what Ford said. Ford knows better. But he did it anyway. It's not just a dog whistle. It was a flat out scream to elements of the base. And I just want to end with this, guys. I said yesterday that Twitter's not real world, right? Like if it's really, it's a crazy, a lot of it's fake. It's gone bananas since it got deregulated. But that sentiment that, I work with people who are experiencing homelessness, the sentiment that, we have homelessness because of immigration, because of immigrants, because Canadians can't find jobs because of immigrants. All of this crap, it's not accurate. It's yes, immigration is putting a pressure and a strain on our systems, no doubt about it. We need to do better. But we can't just take the problems that Canada's had because subsequent governments didn't invest in housing stock, because we have, premiers in some provinces who aren't investing in healthcare because they're privatizing it and profiteering with their pals, right? We can't blame that on these families who have gone through all kinds of hoops to get to our country for a new start and to contribute. It's an easy way to blame your grievance on somebody else who's different than you, but it is wrong and it is harmful, and it breaks my heart for all of the people who are new to this country, who are learning a new language if they don't already speak English, who are trying to navigate a new culture, who are trying to go to a new school, live in a new neighborhood. My neighborhood is full of immigration, trying to meet their neighbors, right? All this stuff. And on top of that, they have the premier, the most powerful person in their province, say, you know what, look at them with a side eye because, they're bringing their stuff to our country. Yeah. And it's horrible, guys. So I'm sorry for the rant. But
no, it's fine. No, it's fine. Rant away, please.
Crap I get on my feed, like I probably have 50 new messages as I'm talking, the more I'm going to speak out about this. I'm doing an show on the Ontario Place scandal today with the guys from the Ontario Place movement. But I'm going to do this off the top because we have to. If you don't speak out against it, then people start to think it's normalized.
Exactly.
Demonize others like this. Like, no, thank you. Sorry for the rant, guys. I'm more mimosa.
No. Don't be sorry for the rant. Mr. Grizzly, did you get the link?
Yes, I have the link here. I just wanted to add to that, Laura. Everything you said, I completely agree with.
Yep.
We are completely simpatico. But something yesterday, somebody mentioned on a feed somewhere about, it's immigrants have caused this housing crisis. I'm like, what? Nobody can afford a house because all these new immigrants are coming in here and housing prices have skyrocketed. I'm like, yeah, what about when the borders were closed during COVID and housing prices went through the freaking roof? Please explain to me how immigration had anything to do with that. It's called capitalism and greed, period. And as you just said, we've had provinces that have not done a damn thing and previous federal governments that have done nothing to build public housing stock. So, no.
And you know what? From all the people that I get to talk to, right, who are newly homeless or extremely precariously housed and can't even afford food anymore, hence why they have to come out to food lines, I hear from them, number one, that they're taking away rent controls, which is one of the first things that Premier Ford did when he became premier. Taking away rent controls caused them to be rent evicted. That is the number one thing that they cite. They don't talk about immigrants buying their apartments. They talk about their landlords taking their apartments, kicking them out, and then reselling them, sometimes to investors, right? So the lack of rent controls is a huge issue. The other reason why so many are suffering is ODSP. People who have disabilities who can't work in this province are not getting enough money to even cover like a one room in a town. So they are now hungry and they're ending up in homelessness, right? So are all of the homeless problems Ford's? No. Harris years ago put people back out on the street, right? They call him the father of homelessness for a reason.
Yes.
Institutions were shut. There hasn't been enough investment in housing by multiple levels of government. It's not all Ford's fault. But
No.
But for Ford to advance or to build on a narrative out there that is pernicious and false, that these immigrants, these people are causing Canada to be less stable and have an affordability crisis and have a housing crisis. That's not where the blame lies. The blame lies with the governments that we have elected who have not anticipated the need, have not invested in the systems, have not built the housing stock. So that's why him saying that, while easy and populist, is so pernicious, guys.
Oh, yes.
Because it makes other people think, you know what, I can blame the immigrant family across the street for the pain I'm feeling in my bank account. You said off the top something really moving about how you're dealing with income insecurity and you're concerned about your job and it's the pressure on your mental health. I mean, that's real. And a lot of Canadians are feeling that way. And we need to work together as communities to help lift everybody up. That you did not, though, in any of that, decide you're going to blame somebody from another country for those woes.
No, because it's got nothing to do with immigration. Yeah.
So when the premier says it, he creates a permission structure for other people to say, well, therefore, Doug Ford just put the stamp of approval on the anger that I've been feeling towards these other people who I don't know who are different from me, right? And that is why he needed to do a full apology. And frankly, Trudeau and Olivia Chow standing on that dais should have spoken up. Immediately in the moment. I would have preferred if they'd done it. Do you remember when Trump made that comment about bleach and the doctor in charge of his team didn't say anything? She just sat there, right? And the world was like, how did you not stand up and go, no, don't inject bleach. Don't do it, right? I'm watching Chow and Trudeau and going, are we so polite in this country that you're going to let a man stand right in front of you at a live microphone and say something that you have campaigned your entire life against, that you know is harmful to the people that you serve? Right?
Is there a chance that they were just like such in shock that they just like, we didn't come here? What the hell is he doing? Jeez.
I'm sure they thought, we don't want to disrupt this happy announcement, 3 levels of government, looking like we're all working together. I'm sure that was their calculus in the moment, right? But right afterwards, maybe they exerted private pressure because he certainly tried to do a back step without acknowledging what he said was wrong. So there was maybe the deal was he's got to issue a statement or we'll do something. The statement was crap. But it's, Trudeau brought in these immigration targets. And I have long said he should be doing a hell of a lot more to help Canadians understand the plan, right?
Yes, because people don't understand it. You're absolutely right. The messaging from the Liberal Party is terrible.
It is terrible.
The plans that they have and what they're doing is good for everybody in the country.
Yes, and
like everybody.
And public opinion surveys are saying that people actually like the ideas. They just don't like the government for some reason.
Well, but I think I know why. Because if you have a good idea, but the execution of it sucks, and you don't explain to people what the challenges and the barriers are to the kind of execution you want, or how you're pivoting and you're going to add more resources and you're going to fix things. When you don't acknowledge the problems in the execution, people feel like the whole thing is a fail. Right. Yes. And then you ask people separately, without thinking about execution of all these things, do you like this idea? Yeah, I love the idea, but I can't stand the government in power right now because the execution sucks. So if you're going to put in something that's bold, challenging, difficult, going to be growing pains, you better message to it early and often. And Trudeau has really failed with that. And, people always say to me that I'm never hard on Trudeau. I'm hard on Trudeau all the time.
Yes.
For his inability to communicate and his inability to strategize some of the outcomes of his own policies. But I like the policies, right?
Right.
So Canadians want their cake and eat it too. And that survey you just cited, the conclusion of that survey was the policies they like are liberal policies, but they don't want a liberal government. They want a conservative government because they're sick of Trudeau. So they want a change of leader, of party, but they want the same policies. And that's obviously a recipe for disaster. Yes. And it's frustrating to read.
Especially with the options on hand, you're definitely not the option of a different leader, but similar policies just does not exist at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm noticing in the chat too, some comments from the kids here. Linda M has got 2 here, and she's always on point. Number 1, as I commented to him yesterday, Dougie wasn't talking about my white immigrant face.
Right.
And I seem to recall that Dougie jumped to the conclusion that Umar Zamir was guilty too.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And he didn't, not only did he not learn from the Zamir thing, but this was like a doubling down of it. Once again, he's deciding who's guilty, right? Which is incredibly dangerous in a rule of law democracy. And guys, I can geek out for hours on the rise of authoritarianism around the world, what's happening in the States. It's creeping into Canada all over the damn place. It's pretty terrifying. That's what keeps me up at night, right? So I try to listen to smarter people and how they're assessing and analyzing it all. But to Linda's comment, he not only did not learn from what he did with Zamir, he got a lot of love for it. And so what he did yesterday, is getting a lot of love for that, right? It reinforces for his base that somebody sees me, somebody gets me, somebody understands that I'm angry, and they're therefore a channel for my anger. Trump's strategy to get elected after he decided he was really going to go for it was to have people listen to talk radio in the US, find all the pain points, and then create a narrative around it to show people he saw their pain. It's brilliant. It works well. And this is what we're witnessing here in Poilievre's excellent ad also, right? So pain points are real. You can either exploit them for your own populist power, or you can address them with good programs and some compassion. It's a lot faster and easier to just exploit them and to just double down on that anger. And my big concern is, when has promoting anger ever made things better? It doesn't. It leads to fascism. It leads to authoritarianism. People say, I just want a strong man to fix it all, to clean it all up. It's so out of control. The only solution is going to be some big, powerful man to come and fix it. That's the history of authoritarianism, and we know it, and that's the playbook. So whenever I see a politician recklessly promote narratives that the only fix is to clamp down on others and to gin up people's fear and distrust of each other, that's dangerous AF. And I know some of the people in your chat know that I'm going to drop a bomb or two soon. I'm trying to wake people up their coffee, but you know what I'm saying? Like, that's dangerous AF. And so we have to call that out, guys, all the time. And we have to have these nuanced conversations of, listen, you can have pain points and you can acknowledge problems, and you can see clearly that some things aren't working, and the execution on some of these policies has sucked, and the communication has sucked worse. And also not want to hire a populist rage farmer who is way too cozy with the MAGA narratives of the US,
Yep, absolutely. I hear you completely. All right. So that's Doug Ford.
I have the clip here if you want me to.
Yes. The next one is Pierre Poilievre, who had some thoughts about what life is like in Central America.
Oh, I've got that clip. You want me to air that one first?
Yes, please.
Okay, here we go. This is... Okay.
I've heard this.
This is...
Everyone meet Raquel. You'll never believe what she's done. Raquel, you and your family made a decision after you had your newborn.
Daughter, yeah, she's 3 now.
She's 3 now?
Yeah.
And what was the decision you made?
We were trying to find a larger house that was affordable, and it was not in Canada, and so we decided to move to Nicaragua.
You moved to Nicaragua.
Yeah.
Where were you living in Canada before?
Well, we lived here for 5 months for fishing in Cape Breton, and then 7 months was in my hometown in Squamish.
This is nuts. So her family, a family from Cape Breton, fishing family, can't afford to live here and has to move to Nicaragua. Did you have any connection to Nicaragua?
No,
you just did your research and said, this is a place where we could afford to
packed our backpacks and flew down blindly.
It used to be that countries
but
like...
we can afford a house down there.
It used to be that people would flee from countries like Nicaragua to come to Canada, but now people are actually fleeing from Canada to go to Nicaragua because they can't afford 9 years of Trudeau. That's how badly this guy has ruined our country, to the point where people have to leave for Nicaragua or other places around the world where they can afford to live. This is insane.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
I do, yeah. Actually, in 2022, when we moved, 8,000 other Canadians had moved to Nicaragua as well.
8,000 for the same reasons? Like when you meet
it's all like-minded people down there that are looking for a lower cost of living,
unbelievable,
better quality of life.
Tax the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, stop the crime.
Absolutely, give us hope.
We're gonna
fucking
bring
guy.
our people home. Our people, our money, our jobs, our businesses. We're gonna bring them all home to the country we know and love. What do you think of that, Raquel?
Yes.
Absolutely. Let's bring it home. Thank you.
He's good. Damn, Poilievre is good.
Well, see, he's good in one way and he's bad in another way, because I'm watching this whole thing and she's talking. Yes, and a couple of times she's still got more to say, but he just bulldozes all over her to keep his narrative going. I mean, she's literally, he doesn't care about her, clearly, like this, because he won't let her tell her story. He has a story to tell, and he's trying to make her story fit.
He needs to control the narrative.
Yeah, but you know what he did? And it does. And the lead story I heard on the news today after Trump was that a huge number of Canadians are moving to Florida There's a real estate agent from Florida who was on the news talking about the fact that they're going to Fort Lauderdale because it's more affordable to buy a house and less taxes. So it's real. The pain point around affordability is real. The fact that people are emigrating out of Canada is real. Polyev just dropped 4 of his bumper sticker 3-word things. I did an op-ed in the Toronto Star about this a couple of weeks ago, where I said, Canada is bruised. It's not broken. It's not broken. Don't buy that crap from Polyev. Look at how much he's lining up against MAGA type rhetoric. And one of the things I pointed out were those 3-word bumper stickers, axe the tax, right? He reamed off 4 of those in a row in that video. He tightly wrapped the whole thing up. And he even brought in his bring it home thing at the end, right? So, right. I mean, he's good. And and it might piss off some of your listeners, but I'm not here to blow smoke up Trudeau's, skirt.
No.
I'm
the
here
comms
to.
are terrible. The Liberal has terrible communications department.
And so Polyev, I've often likened him to, that if you guys, I'm a bit of a superhero movie freak because I have kids, but Juggernaut, he's Juggernaut. He just never, once he's going, he doesn't stop through walls, boom, 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 bringing it home. So I was watching that dispassionately as a comms person, and because that's part of how you introduced me this morning. His comms on that were tight. Now, is he smarmy? Is he condescending? Is he dismissive of the people he talks to? Does he give off Ted Cruz vibes so much so that, I won't be able to eat my breakfast after watching that? Yes. Oh, gross. He's gross. But as a communicator who knows how to take something and run with it, weave in their talking points, close the deal, tie it off with a big fat partisan bow in his campaign messaging, he gets an A+. So, Trudeau can be the guy with the compassionate positions and with when Trudeau was at his best was when he was being challenged by students in the last campaign. Do you guys remember?
Yep.
This big crowd
in the town hall.
Yeah, and somebody
a non-vetted town hall, by the way.
And someone said to him, I remember this one exchange where some kid said to him something that it was either xenophobic or misogynist, I can't remember. But rather than getting defensive and schmarmy and going to campaign rhetoric, Trudeau said, tell me more about why you feel that way. Where is that coming from? It was his sort of teacher training. And it was a moment of, wow, this person has real values. They communicate beautifully. And it won the day, right? And so, So I don't like Polyev's persona. I don't like his policies. I don't like the anger and cruelty that runs through much of what he says and does. But just in terms of being able to seize the communication opportunity, he is a beast. And we have to acknowledge that, or we're going to get absolutely lapped, by a populist who is adjacent to white supremacists and who is picking up on narratives and who has cabinet ministers meeting with fascists from Germany. I mean, we're going to bring in a dark time in Canada if we just sit back and think that Polyev isn't powerful. He's powerful. And it's very alarming. I don't think we should dismiss it. So thanks for showing me the clip. I'm sorry for the geek out on it, but his comms are tight. His comms are tight.
No worries. I sent you another one, Mr. Grizzly. I think it's a CTV article that has a response from Minister François-Philippe Champagne in it.
Did you? Just a second. Yeah, okay. I'll pull it up in just a sec here.
It'll be the embedded one.
Yeah, there. Just give me a minute because I have to take the text that you sent me and then email it to myself.
Yes. So, yes. Yeah, fly by the seat of the pants, kids. We're MacGyvering it today. All right. So he makes this statement. Now, the lady in the video says that she personally knows or she's heard of 8,000 families that have done the same. I have no idea what that number is. That sounds a bit like many people are saying. Yes, sounds to be a bit. But of course that made Pierre very happy, and he was very happy to run with that number. We have a minister in the federal government. His name is Pablo Rodriguez. And if I am not mistaken, he's pretty familiar with Nicaragua somehow. I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with his last name being Rodriguez. Maybe. So he had a couple of interesting thoughts to say about that, namely, pretty much if you boil it down, if this guy thinks that Canadians are fleeing to Nicaragua for a better life, this guy doesn't know Nicaragua.
Right.
I know Nicaragua.
I've got the clip right here.
And then we had François-Philippe Champagne who responded.
Sorry, I just got to turn the volume up on it. It was really low there for some bizarre reason.
Very well. Mr. Poilievre is promoting the idea that some Canadians are leaving Canada to live in Nicaragua because Canada's broken, it's too expensive. What do you think?
How ridiculous that would be. Honestly, I mean, Canada is the envy of the world. Yeah, it just shows he is. I mean, honestly, how ridiculous that could be. Canada is the envy of the world. If you look, we're a big magnet for talent. You see people coming and coming. People come to study. People come to work. People come to live. Honestly, I mean, this whole narrative that is trying, why would people invest in Canada? Why people would choose to come to Canada? Why would people build families in Canada if that was the case? At a certain stage, we have to stop that kind of rhetoric which makes no sense. To be honest, I think we should be proud. We should be talking up Canada, and as Canadians and as leaders, we should talking up. I mean, who could be more optimistic than us as elected leader? I think it's irresponsible, and it just shows he is. Merci.
Guys, that makes me so mad. Do you know why?
Why?
Because that should have been on a fucking video on social media minutes after Poilievre. They should have gone to him. They should have had him say exactly that. But instead, we have a politician just taking a moment from the media to react and saying, Canadians should be talking up our country. Leaders should be, you're the freaking leader who should be doing it. You should have had a video cut and done and out on all the socials within 5 minutes of Poilievre's video. They have no rapid response. They have no fucking war room in the Liberal government that is doing anything at the level they need to. I'm sorry, guys, but it makes me furious. I would have never seen that clip if I wasn't doing this podcast this morning. Where is that packaged and being promoted? I'm in it on every social platform with Ford's ads against Bonnie Crombie every 10 minutes. I'm hearing it. I'm seeing them everywhere. Poilievre, everywhere. And that they have a Nicaraguan minister who can summarize the value proposition for Canada and immigration in a minute and a half in a scrum environment. Fucking hallway, but they can't get that on a video and they can't buy ads around it. Like, we are getting lapped by this. And to hear a leader say, leaders should be talking up, leaders are like, then do it. Do a video, put the phone in front of your face, ask the reporter, get that clip and get it out there and package it up. Sorry. I promise. Guys, that'll be my last rage rant of the morning.
No.
We love it. That's why we want you on here.
Yes,
so
exactly.
You can do this.
You're yelling the things that we yell at our monitor and our TV screens when we say that, when we see this.
Like, I could package that. I did like 10,000 videos or some stupid thing in the pandemic because everything was online. I had to capture all my clients' messaging and, everything was video based. I could cut and post that within not even 10 minutes. Like where I know Trudeau hired a comms guy and gave him, and he sat for some interviews and they're trying to, make him more accessible. But I mean, this is a game of, you've heard that expression that quantity has a quality all its own, right? So Poilievre is giving quantity. He is filling the zone. It's that Steve Bannon thing of like, flood the zone with bullshit. Whatever. It doesn't mean that there's good quality to what Poilievre's doing. There's quantity to it. It's like the Liberals are it's all too precious. They're too precious to just like boom, 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 get this shit out. Sorry.
Well, this is where I think Minister Sean Fraser has attacked it head on multiple occasions.
He is a shining light amidst the comms darkness, for sure.
They really do have terrible comms in the Liberal Party. They like just brutal because, as you said, why did they not have that clip on social media the second it took place?
Exactly.
Right? They don't have good comms people, and I don't know what or how or why. And here's the thing I need people to understand, because everybody, I'm always being accused of being, you're a liberal cuck who works for the prime minister. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't work, and I'm not a liberal. I don't belong to any political party. I never will. I vote in every election. I vote for the best candidate in my riding. That being said, there's no good conservative candidates in any riding across this country as far as I'm concerned, because many of them are Reform Party stalwarts and they are dangerous to democracy. But I digress. I don't work for the Liberal Party. I don't belong to any party. And I will shit on Justin Trudeau when he screws up.
Yeah.
But right now I'm dumping on their comms people because they're doing a horrible job. And when Poilievre suddenly goes up in the polls, and I'm like, how is this even possible? This is a horrible human being who doesn't give a shit about anybody. He is a complete narcissist. All he cares about are money and power, how to get it, how to keep it. That's all he cares about. He will gut every social program that we've advanced over the last 9 years. Children being lifted out of poverty, school lunch program, pharmacare, dental care, $10 a day daycare. He will gut all of that. How do I know this? Because in the last budget, they voted no. They voted against every single thing and didn't propose anything. They just said no. These are not good people. These are not good people, and they will do so much harm to our country. So we need to find out who's doing their comms and push them onto the other parties. Green, Liberal, NDP, hell, even the Communist Party. I don't give a shit. We just need better comms people, because the Conservative Party, the Reform Party is who they are. They are knocking it out of the park every time they step up to the plate when it comes to comms. They stay on message. They flood the zone with bullshit. It's three-word slogans that are completely meaningless and empty. Bring it home. What are you bringing home? What are you bringing home?
Right. So can I just, I'm just going to say something that people don't like to hear, but comm strategy is approved from the top. Yes. Every CEO that I've worked with, they hire me because of my style, you know, whatever, my values, but it's set at the top. So if Trudeau wanted a rapid response, you know, for every piece of crap that Poilievre puts out, we have an equal and better comms response, right? Like a rapid response war room. If he wanted that, he would have that. You know, and you and I could be making a lot of money, but neither of us work for the Liberal Party. I don't work for any political party. I'm not partisan. I don't have any party memberships. I never will. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of cash for rapid response comms, right? Right. It is, and to me, I use the word precious on purpose, guys. It is this precious position to think, oh, our values are so superior. Canadians are aligned with our values. So Poilievre is nothing but, you know, a blip on the radar, an annoyance, a little flea we can ignore. And that, to me, that comes from being in power too long, from having an ivory tower approach. It's elitist, it's stupid. So, you know, it's not that comms people don't know how to cut a video, don't see an opportunity like we just did. It's that they don't, that is not the strategic directive. If we saw a strategic directive from the Liberal Party to match Poilievre's volume, you know, quality and quantity, but especially quantity, then we would be seeing it. You know, so I just don't ever want to, I never like to lay the feet on the blame of the staff. The feet are at the blame of the leader. If the leader doesn't know he needs to up his game and change strategic direction for his communications, then he's lost his touch.
Yeah, I concur.
I think what Linda says here is correct. Dangerous complacency.
That's right.
I just wanted to correct a thing. Pablo Rodriguez is not Nicaraguan born. He's Argentinian.
Oh, okay.
But
he's still from South America.
But grew up in the area. And the other thing that people need to understand is when Pierre Poilievre says that Canadians are fleeing away from Canada to Nicaragua. According to Global Affairs, Canada advises travelers to Nicaragua to, quote, exercise a high degree of caution due to the political situation, the potential for civil unrest and crime.
So guys, on that, when I was doing the Star op-ed, I didn't just, you know, compare and contrast rhetoric and communication tactics. I also looked at Canada's standing and perception in the world.
Right.
And we're only in the top 20 economies. We used to be higher to the top economically, but we are tops for immigration. We're considered tops by perception of 73 other countries for our educational opportunities, like you cited earlier, right? For our career opportunities. So Canada is thought of as the second best place in the world by global perception, which is what that cabinet minister was alluding to, right? That we are the envy of the world. That is how other countries see us. Now, do they know all of the bruises that we have sustained through the pandemic and with everything else that's going on? No, maybe not. But you can't just accept what Poilievre is saying whole cloth, because it's not accurate, right? There is a truth in between Poilievre saying Canada is broken and going to hell in a handbasket, which again, Trump yesterday coming out of court, first thing he said was the country's going to hell, right? You can't accept that part of that populist rhetoric that is lining up for authoritarianism. And I say that, not that Poilievre's an authoritarian yet, but when he said his own laws, he was going to do notwithstanding clause and his own laws. When he used that language, I alone can fix it. Sounds a lot like that. But but you also have to look at the other factors, right? Canada, top 20 wealth countries in the world, has highest immigration, which is an envy of other countries in the world who need immigration. Like Russia is losing its population, and so that means their economy is getting weaker. So I mean, you have to put it in perspective. There are a lot of things we should be very proud of as Canadians. There are a lot of things that we should be championing and we should be promoting and building on. And there are a lot of things we need to fix with much more urgency than we are. But to just blindly say the Trudeau Liberals are doing everything perfectly when they're clearly not doing enough and not communicating well, or to blindly say, well, Poilievre is the solution because everything is broken, is also fallacy, And frankly, I don't think Jagmeet has done much as a leader. I think he's been a disappointment to me. I had a cab driver tell me the other day, if only Jack Layton was on the federal scene, he'd go with Layton, So, I mean, we are in almost a binary option now between whoever the Liberals are going to put up against Poilievre. But I think we need to look at it with some nuance and just realize that what Canada needs is for a party of good conscience and a leader of compassion who can affect change. People keep bringing up the new premier of Manitoba for everything that he's doing. Is it Saskatchewan or Manitoba? Manitoba. You have someone of good conscience with good values who's also executing and dealing with some major issues, and people are pointing to that and saying, why can't we have that federally? So, I think the best thing we can do is push good people of good values to do more to solve the problems and to not think that they're not there. So I felt like the cabinet minister might be drinking a little bit too much of those surveys, like Canada's number 2 in the world, so therefore we shall be happy. There's a balance, guys, between Poilievre's dystopia and the utopia we heard from that minister. Like, it's Canada in the middle.
Yeah. Now, I'd like to get your thoughts.
I got to jump. Sorry, guys. I don't mean to interrupt. I got to jump. I got to head into the office. My lovely wife wanted to make a quick comment, and then I'm going to pop out. You guys can keep rolling, and I'll rejoin once I can from the office.
Awesome. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. Sorry, I'm not good at getting on camera, but Laura, I agree with everything you say, and I've been in marketing and comms for about 25 years, and you're just so spot on. You're awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and I actually accidentally heard Pierre Poilievre speak. I was at an event, and he was speaking in a hotel room, and he was and I'm like, I'm anybody but conservative, progressive conservative. And he had me in the palm of his hand. I was like, what is going on here? So I just wanted to say how smart and awesome you are.
Oh, thank
and
you.
Carry on.
I'm back at you. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. And my quick little plug is my dear friend Amanda Perrier has organized feminist conversations for tonight at Happy Goat in Ottawa South.
Cool.
And she's got 3 very powerful women speaking, and they're probably going to light the house on fire. So I'll put it up, the link. But anyway, Laura, what a pleasure to listen to you. And just
thank you. Nice
carry on.
Will do. Thank you.
Okay, really do have to go. I'll jump back in when I can, guys. I'll see you in a bit.
Okay.
All right.
Have fun at work.
All right, Laura, the last little thing I wanted to mention about this Nicaragua thing while it's still going on is that there was a response. It seems that Pierre Poilievre must have also gotten a memo that that probably wasn't the best move, because not too long after, his spokesperson, Sebastian Skamsky, who seems to be being quoted a lot on this show because it seems that he's always coming up with the mop in the bucket to do a cleanup on Pierre Poilievre. But yes, said there's the Conservatives recognize that many people around the world are also forced to leave countries like Nicaragua to avoid political repression, crime, and violence. Nothing in this video of this Canadian's experience diminishes the struggles of these people.
Yeah, but you know what? The cleanup
it actually does.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
actually does.
Sure it does.
8,000. Wow. Hey, everybody, maybe you should be doing this too. It's sort of like the underlying. So it's like you can't celebrate 8,000. You can't take somebody's word for 8,000 families going that, not have it verified, take it as cash, run with it, and says, oh my God, if this is true, this is so terrible. People used to flee to Canada. And then it's like, really? It's like Global Affairs actually has a travel advisory.
Right. And you know what? You can't in the world before 2016, but now you can, because Trump changed the rules. He changed the conventions, right? Facts are no longer a shared commodity. And, Kellyanne Conway with her alternative facts. I tweeted last night and you loved it when I said, has Kellyanne come out yet with alternative counts, right? I mean, but that moment when Kellyanne said that was... Thank you. I was on fire last night.
You were. I loved it.
So I'm a little slow this morning, if you got my drift.
Well, yes. Caveat to the kits and cubs. If Laura appears a little slow, and I don't think that is the case, she did confess when I asked her on the show that she would be probably severely hungover because there was a lot to celebrate.
But you know what? And then you came up with the idea of mimosas. I said, okay, so I'll cork my champagne, save it for the morning. So you spared me some of the pain.
I like to help. I believe in spreading the pain around.
In that comment, though, right? That cleanup on aisle 5, the cleanup's not going to matter. Because nobody cares. Nobody cares that, of course, it's probably not 8,000 exactly people from Canada have fled to Nicaragua. I mean, that sounds ridiculous on its face.
Right.
But, maybe she read that online somewhere and she thinks it's true. And, who knows? Possibly, right. Maybe it is. But it's not about fact checking anymore. And it's not. And you know what? A responsible politician would have said, well, actually, there's a travel warning against Nicaragua because they do face instability in their blah, blah, blah. And in Canada, yada, yada, yada. Poilievre doesn't care, right? No. Because all he's driving is, it's so shitty in this country right now that people are going to places that we thought were shittier because they can't afford it. Trudeau's house, right? In Trudeau's 9 years. So it doesn't matter. He doesn't care about the facts. His base won't care about the facts. Canadians who hear about the Nicaraguan number aren't going to care about the facts. And Trump did such an excellent job of minimizing the fact checkers, the fake news media, by minimizing the experts, which was a Brexit strategy as well, to get to a point where even if you had a slew of experts come out like you just did and cite, real travel advisories and real stats, people don't care. Because they don't also want to hear from the experts, right? So it's a brilliant way to destabilize, to take out all of the checks and balances around communication, to say, well, if we make the fact checkers sound like they're biased hacks, and if we make the experts sound like they're elitist snobs, therefore we have clear terrain to pump out populist bullshit that gets people angry and fits our narrative. And there's very little that can stop it, which is why, my friend, I know we keep flirting back with the Trump news, which is why last night, when someone said to me, had the temerity to say to me, Laura, let's hold off on the celebration until sentencing. I'm like, no. We just achieved something of clarity and normalcy yesterday that none of us believed could ever happen again. And that is something we should hold on to with, dear life, and celebrate the moment and realize there is a potential for fact checking, for truth telling, for accountability still in 2024. I mean, that is, I told this to my husband last night, Dan, that is the best I have felt in terms of a moment of hope since when I heard that there was a COVID vaccine that had been developed through mRNA. When the press release came out that there was a vaccine for COVID that was going to be expedited because of new mRNA technology, that when I saw that tweet 3 years ago, I felt like, oh my God, there's light at the end of this darkness. When I saw last night, 34 counts, absolutely unanimous, completely locked down, I thought, wow, okay, so jurisprudence hasn't been completely destroyed in the US. No matter what the Supreme Court is up to and all of the crap we've been seeing and all of the destabilization of their systems and Trump's plan 2025 to take over the country and all of its systems, all of that horrible reality just got checked with a better reality. And that's a huge thing to, I think, all of us to feel some hope with, right?
Yes. See, I'm right with you. I'm with the celebration.
Yeah.
Now, you have to understand that I'm hardwired for optimism and happiness.
Yeah, I love that.
Yes. So I celebrated when they announced Jack Smith. I celebrated when they announced the charges. I celebrated when they announced the trial date. I celebrated when the trial actually started. I'm with you. You know what? And I celebrated every time his lawyer opened up his mouth and said something dumb.
No, it's true. But we have to, right? Because there's a lot to not celebrate going on right now.
Right, exactly.
You know? And in our business of current affairs and analysis and comms, you'd have to be blind not to see the trouble on the horizon, right?
Right.
And so a friend of mine, a client of mine who works with vulnerable populations, sent me this beautiful meme the other day because he was watching me fighting about something online. And I'll paraphrase it for you, but it basically said, you know, when I look at what's happening in the world from climate, from the climate emergency to AI to, you know, these other factors, I'd be a fool not to be pessimistic. But when I look at people who are helping, marginalized, who are volunteering, who are, putting their heart into our society, I'd be a fool not to be an optimist, right? So it gives me goosebumps. I'm terribly paraphrasing it, but just that concept of it depends where you cast your eyes.
Yeah,
if you
we say
it's down, it's down.
Yes, we say it on the show often, like at the same time as like June's coming up, right? June starts tomorrow, so we're going to get ready for a full month of people, the whole fuck your feelings people having really big feelings about rainbows for a whole month, right? And that we're going to have they're going to be super high maintenance, and we're going to have to cuddle them and wrap them up in cotton. Go, don't worry, you know, it's like your whole family's not going to disintegrate because a bunch of fabulous people in colorful costumes threw a parade.
Yeah,
just calm down. You'll be all right. You'll survive this, just like you survived it last June and the June before, and the June before, and the June before. We didn't spend the whole last year weaponizing some fabulous glitter bombs to take out your entire values. You know, we're just.
Although that'd be fun to watch.
we just want to gather in a place in warm weather as scantily clad as possible and have some fun. Some good, clean fun, right? And everyone's invited. Everybody that also wants to be scantily clad or not and, have some good, clean fun. You're all invited to the party. It doesn't really matter who you sleep with, right?
And No, and you know what? We festoon Punta Canada and the front of our house with pride flags every year because I think it's all of us need to understand the crap that people who celebrate pride from lived experience get now, right? I mean,
straight people are included in the rainbow. I don't know how people understand that.
Right. And you know what? And I also think that it's highly important for all of us as allies to celebrate with you because those are hard fought for rights. And if you go to literally the opinion on Roe v. Wade, when it came out, part of the Supreme Court's opinion on it, I think it was Clarence Thomas who said, next we're going to look at marriage equality, right? Like that's the next natural right to be taken. Right. And so, and then you have people screaming, oh, Laura, why are you talking about abortion rights? In Canada, they're not going to be touched. I'm like, really? Because you know what? We tend to follow the U.S. on a 10-year beat.
Yes.
And that's where they are. And when you hear them talking, I mean, there's the Don't Say Gay in Florida stuff. But if you hear Supreme Court talking about the next challenge they want to invite is on equal rights, that is something that you have to be bold. You have to be bold and say, no, actually, Pride Month matters. It matters because it's human rights. It matters because it's hard fought for rights. It matters because we should celebrate love, and we should celebrate people's right to love. And all the rest of it is just harmful bullshit. So we need to be bold when we're protecting the rights of others. And I may not personally feel that I need the rainbow to see and understand me and my experience and celebrate my rights. But I understand that is important for people who have fought for those rights, right? And so I'm going to celebrate with them. And I think that's the concept of solidarity, right? It's saying you might not be coming at my rights, but if you're coming at rights, and then I, as someone who stands for social justice and for equality, have to get in the fight with you. I mean, that's it. That's all we can do.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, and when we see this with regard to the issue, this year, it's going to be particularly nasty because of all the things with the trans kids and all the bills in those 3 provinces. So it's going to be even more reason for people to show up, but probably more reason for people to show up on both sides of this issue. And when I say both sides of this issue, I'm saying that facetiously.
Yes. Didn't we have that disgusting parents' rights march last June? I feel like it was last June. I feel like it corresponded with Pride. That was disgusting. And I'll never forget the guy on the podium saying he was trying to do it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, but he said like it was Adam and Eve, not Adam and Adam, or he couldn't even get it right. I'm like, you can't get your bigotry correct. But I mean, like, this parents' right things quickly devolved into kids stepping on pride flags and idiots like that guy saying what he was saying. So I, I feel for you, man. That sucks.
Yep. And the other thing was for us, we were seeing like the Muslim community just being completely exploited. So I'm sitting there, it's like, I remember a time not that long ago when they were trying to convince us of the gay community to persecute you post 9/11. And we turned around and we said, well, no, we know what it's like to be persecuted, so we're not going to do that. But hey, thanks for returning the favor.
It's not the appeal to traditional values, right?
Yep.
I had Linwood Barclay, the Canadian author, international author, actually best-selling author, on the pod recently on the O Show. And we got into a conversation around parenting because in his book, he talks about themes around teenagers and stuff like that in his new book, I'll Ruin You. I mentioned to him, that we raised our kids in a current affairs space because of what I do. They helped produce the O Show during the pandemic. Their dad's a news camera guy for CBC. There was no way they were ever going to be out of the conversation. And at our house, and I'd love to have you in Punta Canada if I haven't invited you yet. I don't know where you live, but you got to make the trek because
Kingston.
It's such a good time. Oh, it's not far at all.
No.
You got to come. So so we hang out in Punta Canada, right? And we often, because of the work that I do and the friends that I have, my kids have been exposed to some of the top activists and intellectuals and badasses, in our society. And they have had long chats around the fire into the night. It's kind of like the Babeleux salons in Paris back in the day. We love to have hours and hours of conversations. We had someone over the other night who's a columnist for the Hamilton Spectator, and she got into an hour-long conversation with my 15-year-old son, Chef Darrow, about his career. And we just let our friends talk to our kids, and we're very open like that. And but there are parents who want to control their kids differently. And so they go to this trope of traditional values as an excuse to say, don't teach them this, don't expose them to this, don't. And so I can see how the parents' right movement would appeal to some cultures that might have more traditional values and say, this is where you plug in. But the reality is that those marches weren't talking about, traditional parenting values. Those marches were promoting, from what I saw, bigotry and hate and a fear of others. And so it's okay to not want to parent as openly as I might parent. It's okay to want to have, different constructs for your kids to talk about. I mean, you're the parent, but you don't have the right to promote hate with your child. You don't have the right to, you don't own your child, right? Like, there's a children's bill of rights. And so this idea of parental rights is a very, to me, slippery, dangerous slope to taking away the rights of the individual who's your child. And then when you inculcate them with fear and bigotry, it's I think that's dangerous and abusive to the child. And so, this parents' right thing bothers me, because sometimes the misnomer, the nomenclature, the name you give something is the win. By them calling this stew of bigotry and bullshit,
and by us referring it to it that way when we talk about it.
That's right, exactly. So we have to disavow it and not call it that, because it's just like the Freedom Convoy. When I was doing all the panels as the convoy was making its way across the country, like the slowest moving problem ever, like the Ottawa police had ample time to get ready for that, right? So as they're coming
we're
across,
coming, we're bringing all of our friends, we really mean it now,
right?
We left 5 minutes ago. Here's our GPS. This is where we are. This is our planned arrival time. Anytime now.
It was the slowest moving crisis I've ever seen from a crisis management point of view. I'm like, holy shit, they had a week. So as
they're not really all coming. We have no evidence whatsoever of that.
Right. How do you get that? So on every panel I'm doing on the radio, they're calling it the Freedom Convoy. I go, why are we ascribing that high level nomenclature to these guys? We don't.
Had everybody just said they call themselves the Freedom Convoy? Had every news podcast started or newscast the Loudmouth Convoy,
right? Or the mixed bag of grievance convoy, or the
anti-everything convoy,
or whatever. Or just the convoy of trucks. We'll see what they're all about once they start walking their flags around Ottawa. But this idea that we just grab that label and they get to own it. I don't know if you've noticed, but this is just my own little slap back. Every time I post about Canada, I put a Canadian flag emoji on my tweet. I do that because if I have to see one more pickup truck in my neighborhood with Canadian flags and F Trudeau and all kinds of other crappy stuff on their trucks, you don't own my flag. I'm not going to give that up. I'm not going to cede that any more than you own the concept of freedom. Like, shut up, right? So
the other interesting thing I noticed about that is that a lot of people in these convoys have a problem with he, him, she, her,
of course,
they, them. But when you say, well, no, call us the Freedom Convoy, though.
Right.
Don't call us. Don't call us by what it is we refer to ourselves and we wish to be called.
Yeah, right. No, exactly. You have to accept their designation, but they won't accept other people's designation. You know what? And can we just say, I don't know if you find this too, but I would be more open to the Polyev critiques, attacks that I get every time I post about Polyev. I get like 2 days worth of shit. Yep. I'd be more open to their arguments if so many of them didn't dissemble into these weird things about sex or about gender or about body mutilation or about trans. Like, it's like, well, I thought we were talking about the economy here. I thought we were talking about X, Y, and Z. How are we now talking about, like, what's with the transphobia that just popped into this conversation?
See,
what's with the supremacy crap? I'm talking about the economy, right?
My personal theory is that when they switch over to the thing that they really want to talk about, right? Because everything is just a pretext to be able to bring that in. It's because they've basically shared the entire contents of their brain with regard to that subject. So they need to move on.
Well, I think you're right.
They've got nothing else to say. They just got their entry line to get you in. And then, well, what about this? Well, if it weren't for those damn immigrants, if it wasn't for those damn trans people, if it wasn't for those damn fill in the blank here with whatever ism of the day.
Yeah, no, you're brilliant. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it
is. You shot all your shot in 2 tweets. Now you got nothing left to say. So now we're talking about trans people.
Now we're talking about what you're really raging about, what you're really fearful of, what you're really obsessed about, right?
Because throwing in a subject like that just stomps all over your message. If you really did have a problem with the fact that rents were so high, like this, you would have just left it at the rent. Now that we're talking about trans people, I guess you didn't really care much about your rent, now did you?
Right. It's the acceptable grievance point for you to get to what you're really angry about. And you know what? I don't know if you know Yelena Vermillion. She's fabulous, and she is a trans sex worker, and she is she was at the Take Back the Night. I think I brought this up last time I was on your pod. She was at the Take Back the Night march, and she was protecting Asian trans sex workers or Asian sex workers who she felt were more vulnerable than herself, and she got dragged and a concussion and everything else, right? And so she is always on the front lines and putting her body in the space at risk for others. And so, I admire her immensely, and she's done the show a number of times. But that the amount, when I do a show with her, the tenor of the tweets that I get of having her as a guest and the stuff she has to navigate is unbelievable. You know, unbelievable. And can I just say, back to the Trump thing for a second, one of my favorite moments yesterday, because let's face it, Twitter came back to its old self last night. It was a fun, fascinating place last night. It was so good. The hilarity and the memes.
It was like the high school reunion. Everybody came back for that one day.
It was so fun last night. I loved every minute of it. And everyone was weighing in. And so there was this incredible, I don't know if you saw it, E. Jean Carroll, the woman who took down Trump $83 million for his rape of her, actually went at posted Stormy Daniels and gave her like a "you go sister" kind of solidarity thing. It was I call it her story, because his story was written by men, right? It was a her story moment for the ages of these two chicks who took down like the ultimate misogynist bully in their own rights. And I just freaking love that, man. I get goosebumps when I see that. And so when you see people who are being pounded down, like whether it's Yelena or whether it's whatever, right? People during Pride, you have to stand up for them. You have to, because you know what? First they'll come for their rights, then they're going to come for yours. But even if you don't believe in that sequential erosion of rights, you should do it anyway. You should do it anyway, right? If you have privilege and power and you're not under assault or assailed, then fight for other people with your freaking time and money.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Laura, because since we're celebrating, we wish you a Merry Trumpmas. We wish you a Merry Trumpmas. We wish you a Merry Trumpmas and 10 to 40 years. So I'm glad that you mentioned E. Jean Carroll and Stormy Daniels, because I think my response to that was like American women were going to save America.
Yeah.
We had Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, who blew the whistle out in Georgia.
That's right.
And then, somebody tried to make terrible things happen to them. And now they got a legal settlement that if they can collect it, means that they will get to live like queens for the rest of their lives, as they should, considering what has happened. And then we have Cassidy Hutchinson and Liz Cheney, who are on the Republican side. A lot of people don't want to give them credit, but they did stand up and speak the truth when truth needed to be spoken, and both at pretty high personal costs to both of them. And now we have E. Jean Carroll and Stormy Daniels, the only two people in all of the United States of America in the history of Trump's life to have made him pay a consequence for something. And E. Jean Carroll did it twice. And I think that she has everything set up to be able to do it a third time if she so chooses.
Yes. And you know what I love is that they chose to. I listened to an interview with Stormy Daniels' husband about all the crap that she has gone through, right? And how she was always a porn star, an adult film actress, not an intelligent businesswoman, entrepreneur, badass, right? And so she is a badass. She is intelligent. She's hardworking. She's a brilliant director. And so the fact that it wasn't until I think it was Nicole Wallace who I finally saw on a network say, why do we keep calling her a film actress? She's an entrepreneur and a director. Like, why calling her an adult porn actress? Why don't we talk about all of her resume and like just this idea?
Why don't we talk about Stormy Daniels Inc.?
Yeah, exactly, right. So I love to hear Nicole say that. I'll tweet her about it because I forgot to with everything that's been going on. But I mean, the fact is that the jury heard Stormy and heard her and said, this is a badass chick. And she's standing up to this guy. I mean, this happened. Their little golf club, horrible a disgusting night happened like what 10, 15 years ago. She has been living with that horrible one night stand forever, and it has cost her dearly, and it's been a net negative, so I loved what you said, and you reminded me, Joe Scarborough always says that the women of Atlanta stood for hours in the rain to vote in the 2020 election to get rid of Trump,
and then again to get the Senate.
Yes, right.
Because
And
they had to vote for Raphael Warnock again.
And hopefully they're going to save. Hopefully they're going to save America just on the Roe v. Wade stuff. I mean, that's enough of a reason to show up at the polls.
Yes.
But I'm with you. I kind of feel as a woman, and I love men. I feel as a woman that we are used to doing what has to be done because we have to take care of a lot, right? And so it's like we don't have the time for the bullshit. It's like, no, I have children. I do not want them to live in this mess. And if I gotta do something about it to protect them, I'm going to. And there are men, of course, who protect their kids as well. But I think when you've got a woman who is like, you know what, enough, let's just fix this. I think it can be a very powerful force. So I'm with you, and I loved your tweet.
Yeah, we here in the rainbow community have a saying: lesbians get shit done.
Love it.
Just saying, you want something to get done, you got some activism, or you need something, like, give it to a lesbian. Trust me, it'll get done. It'll get done on time, under budget, and it'll be very effective. Trust me, this is a stereotype that's actually true.
There's something that I heard, and this, people can fact check this for sure. But because women way back in the day had to be responsible for children running around, right? We've developed an ability to kind of simultaneously multitask and to deal with multiple problems at once, and to always have this high level of environmental awareness around us. And I think that some of those traits help us, right, navigate a lot of stuff. Like as a mom of two teenagers, where my house is constantly full of teenagers and there's all this chaos and all this stuff going on all the time, it's kind of like, it's a lot, but I think we're capable of doing that, whether we have kids or not. I just think it's a trait that I see in a lot of other women. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know if it's exclusive to women or to lesbians, but I certainly know that we can get shit done. And so I love the fierceness of them, though. I love how fierce E. Jean Carroll is, and how unapologetic she is, and I love how fierce Stormy is. Right. And so, I love Adam Kinzinger. He's a Republican who we didn't mention, but he's with Liz Cheney, and he's a baddie. If you listen to any Adam, I got all the time in the world for him. And last night,
he's not hard to look at either. Just
no, I know. There's that. He's a Top Gun pilot, for God's sakes, right?
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, and I have to give it to Hogan. Exactly. What did they say, that Top Gun Maverick saved the film industry one bottle of sunscreen at a time, or one bottle of body wax, body lube at a time? But I mean, that beach scene, my daughter and I keep repeating it, right?
So, rewind it. Just one more time. Yeah. That's it. Pause it right there. Yeah.
It's when Rooster does his ab flex, right?
That's the good stuff. Mommy needs to watch that for a while. You just stay right there on pause.
I know. I'm watching that later.
I feel you. Okay, let's get involved in the little Trumpenfreude.
Yeah, let's.
After 7 weeks and 12 jurors and 6 alternates that were there as well, 80 plus hours of testimony and 22 witnesses, the last of which was a complete and utter and total disaster. Yes, I'm talking about you, Robert Costello. A jury of 12 people, his peers, although he probably won't admit they're his peers. It's like, hey, wait a minute. This is New York State. Where are all the other criminal billionaires deemed to be a rapist in civil court to judge me? But no, he got 12 of his peers, 12 average people. And this is one thing that everybody needs to remember, right, when it comes to this case. He was found guilty by 12 American citizens who saw all the evidence. People that testified against him were people he hired. Yeah. Michael Cohen, right? The prosecution tried to make the case that Michael Cohen could not be trusted. Anything that came out of his trash mouth could not be believed because, well, he's Michael Cohen. right? He's a criminal. He's a liar. He has lied under oath. By God, he even stole from Donald Trump. I was like, well, that kind of defense only works that if the person you committed all those crimes against doesn't do that more than you did. Number one. So they're basically saying you can't trust Michael Cohen because he's a less worse version than Donald Trump. So you can't trust Donald Trump. So it was a really interesting day, according to the reports, that everybody was in the courtroom, and the courtroom generally will close at around 4:30 for the day. And Donald Trump was, relaxed and chatting with his lawyer, and everybody was in the room. And the judge had come to the courtroom, Judge Merson, saying that the jury had indicated that they were done for the day and that they would return tomorrow to keep deliberations so that everybody would be dismissed shortly. And 4:30 is the time at which they'd be dismissed. And at around 4:20, I don't know if that has anything to do with anything.
I noted that.
Yes. They got word that nobody's going to go anywhere because we have a verdict. And that changed the mood in the courtroom apparently really quick. Apparently, Donald Trump, who was very relaxed and just chatting with his lawyers, got very stiff all of a sudden because he knew what was coming. He had it coming. He had it coming. Boom, boom. So the first criminal trial of a former or U.S. sitting president, and the first criminal trial also of a current candidate for president, resulted in convictions on all 34 felony counts. And I couldn't help but notice, because, Laura, as you might know, petty is my favorite color, that both MSNBC and CNN had a verdict felony counter that kept rising as the things go up. And while MSNBC was less petty than CNN, because as soon as they finished counting the felonies, they took out the counter, CNN left it up for about like half an hour.
Love it.
It's like the guy wanted attention. He's got attention. He wanted to be famous. He's freaking famous now, as in historical famous, because like the first president convicted is going to be in every history book forever. And the entire downfall, if there was two people on the planet who had no idea who Donald Trump was still, well, this was broadcast worldwide and in HD and in 4K. So they got a clear shot of your face, Donald. Everybody knows who you are now. So there you go.
You know what? You know what I loved? I loved every morning I listen to news from around the world, right? I listen to German, I listen to BBC, I listen to as much as I can. And, sometimes I think because we're so close to it and we see the momentum when we know that the election's going to come down to 800,000 people in 3 swing states, right?
Yep. Right.
And we know that if you game it out, that there is a high risk of Trump returning, like there just is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that we forget just how reviled he is around the world. And when you listen to the newscasts around the world and when you see the headlines of newspapers around the world, I mean, there was a sense of global glee last night, tantamount to like if the World Cup final, but everyone wanted one team. Right? Like it was something special.
It was glowing and gloating.
You know what? And deservedly so. And honestly, I don't know if you saw the Lincoln Project, who I have all the time for in the world.
Yes.
Because they're comms guys, right? They're comms guys.
Yes.
They're dark arts guys who used to work for the Republicans and got everyone we probably didn't like elected back in the day. And now they're fighting the side of democracy and normalcy. And, they're amazing. But they put out the video of that sports bar when the verdict came in and like everyone went bananas, which I could watch all day. But even this morning, they put out a dance club video of crabs dancing to 34 convicted. Like it's hilarious, right? So there's so much Trumpenfreude going on. But it was a moment I felt like of resetting balance in the world, where it's like, okay, really not everyone loves this MAGA shit. Really not everyone is a xenophobic, racist asshole. Really not everybody is okay with this guy and all of his bullshit and bravado, right? And it was just this feeling of, okay, so we might have been quiet. We might have been pushed down. We might have been, getting dystopic and getting doom scrolling and feeling like the end is nigh. But yesterday was a moment of like, No, for the rest of your life, you're a convicted felon. Like Teflon Don is now Convict Don. Wikipedia switched up their bio within minutes, right? Like everybody around the world was like, ding dong.
Don the Con.
For Don the Con might be gone.
Yep.
And I know the sentencing is July 11th, and I know that he probably maybe get jail on the weekends or something, but I don't care. Every single minute that man is forced to be in a place he doesn't want to be, listening to people he doesn't want to listen to, having to do what people he doesn't want to, follow, tell him what to do, where to sit, how to shut up. Any of that is like awesome, right?
Awesome.
Every minute he had to sit in that courtroom is awesome.
Awesome.
And you know what? And so people are like, oh, you know what? He's never going to go to the fact that he has to drag his ass somewhere on July 11th and has to have pucker for the next 2 months. He'll fundraise millions off of it, and he'll turn it into, the Trump show. But he still has to show up, and he's still scared. And I love that because he deserves it. Because think of all the families he separated. Think of all the shit he did as president that we forget because it was too hard to even deal with at the time. He caused so much pain. Think of the millions who died of COVID who didn't need to. If he hadn't been talking about fucking bleach injections and minimizing the pandemic out of the gate, like he was a terrible man and a terrible president. And if he gets even one day in jail, 1 minute in a holding room, 1 minute of pain of any kind to his perfect little privileged life, it makes me happy. So, my color is apparently petty as well, my friend.
It's in for spring 2024, darling. It's just fashion.
I love
it. So it seems that as the verdicts were being read, Donald Trump just sat there looking straight forward with his arms slumped as each count was read, which is a real surprise to me because Donald Trump loves to give himself that nice self-soothing, yes, I love me hug when things are going wrong. Apparently he didn't even have the energy for that. He was just like,
oh, I love it.
Oh, well. I heard somebody else say at one point, I think that Donald Trump may have an aneurysm tweeting from the toilet bowl when, after the verdict comes down or later on that night. And people were giving a whole bunch of reactions, and mine was, oh, well, when it's your time, I guess it's your time.
Right. Remember when we heard
and it would be a fitting end for him to die on the crapper rage tweeting about his conviction.
But then people would
be a little poetic.
Elvis, and then people would say he was Elvis. They'll find a way to spin that idiot.
Exactly. Well, he did like cheeseburgers.
Do you remember during COVID?
I'm just saying.
I remember the morning that Trump got COVID when we were before the vaccine.
Yes.
And I sat up straight in bed and thought, oh my God, like, is this going to happen? And I don't wish death on people. Generally, it's not my vibe. This particular individual, just get out of politics, get out of my face, get out of my world, just get out, get the threat away. You and your family, all of it has really been, the Trump era has sucked because he's good at comms. And so there's a never ending stream of him in our lives. Right. He has stamped his face on the world for 10 years and for people in New York a lot longer, but just this sense of enough with this guy. I don't care if it's jail. I don't care if it's retirement at Mar-a-Lago and he can't do any more. I don't care what it is. Just get the fuck out of my life, right? And get to America and give everybody a chance for some semblance of getting back to business. I have a lot of problems with a lot of American foreign policy and a lot of things that country has done and does. But boy, I'll take a Mitt Romney over a Donald Trump any day of the week, right? Go back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the verdicts came down. Of course, he rushed to a mic, and if Mr. Grizzly were here, I'd play the clip. But he came back to the mic again. It's like, this is a rigged thing, and it's such a disgrace. And he was saying it, and it was only about like 2 minutes, and he had his lawyer beside him, sort of like looking straight at the camera, stern faced, to say, like, we really mean this, but he didn't say anything, and then Trump left without the guy who's never met a microphone that he didn't want to swallow whole, had nothing to say to reporters, just turned his back and then walked away. And I'm watching this, and it's sort of like pre-conviction. That's one thing. post conviction, this was rigged. We wanted a change of venue. It's like, dude, it's still New York State. It's a state crime. If you got to change of venue, it would still be in state, and New York hates you. So, I mean, because we only got 5% here. You know, it was a corrupt judge, was conflicted. And I'm just watching this, and it's like, this is so sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because everybody watching it now, like even those who said, like this, well, I don't know, innocent until proven guilty, innocent until proven. Well, now he's proven guilty.
Yeah, right.
Like, and he still goes back to the camera and it's like, this was a disgrace. I was rigged. It was a setup. I didn't get a fair trial. I didn't. It's like, dude, just stop.
I know.
Stop. It wasn't funny before, but before you still had a presumption of innocence. Now you've been found guilty like this. And the way that he went about it, it's like some person made a comment. I was listening to the feedback that he actually had a case that was probably winnable, but he decided to go in with, I never slept with her.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
And you were just found guilty in criminal trial in the same damn state of having raped someone, literally grabbing someone by the Kit Kat.
Yeah.
You were literally found. You said it on tape. You grabbed them by the Kit Kat. They just let you do it. You got found guilty in court of literally grabbing someone by the Kit Kat. And now you're going to go to court in a criminal trial and ask everybody to believe that you never slept with her when we know you can't keep it in your pants?
So MAGA put out a video earlier that day. And the whole sum of it was, of course, that thing about it's all corrupted, a Joe Biden, which, and projection, right? Projection and weaponizing the courts like they did against Michael Cohen when he was president. But they're projecting this is all, but they ended it with the only verdict that counts is on November 5th, because they knew, right? They were hedging their bets if he did get convicted. Because, he brought in his goon at the last day of the trial as his only witness, right? Who pissed off the judge and put the nail in his coffin. It was idiotic. But Trump always believed that if you deny, threaten, bully, you're going to succeed. And that has worked for him for 55 years. So you can't blame the guy for thinking that was going to work in this trial. It didn't, of course. And his sentencing might be harsher because of all the shit that he did during the trial.
Right.
But
it should be.
It should be, absolutely. And the judge, was gentle with him, but has every right now to say Michael Cohen got 2 years for the same crime, only he cooperated and confessed. You did nothing but be worse in every way.
Got 10 contempt charges along the way.
And threatened the judge's daughter. Right.
Yes.
So watch who you piss off. So
and this was like, if you consider that the crime, because everybody's talking about hush money crime, but it really is a falsification of documents for the purposes of election interference. He may have stolen an election. That should be a freaking aggravating factor.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and I like that some journalists stopped calling it a hush money trial and started calling it an election interference trial, which is what it was about. It was about, and so of course, Trump's going to think that his bullying and bluster is the only way to go, and he's going to keep doing it. But what I thought was really telling, and he did bring up the immigrants, of course, in his screed after he came out of court. He's got a press conference this morning. I've got a client at 9:30, but I think it'll be over before Trump gets to the mic. But he's got a presser this morning, and it's going to be all about a very clever messaging, right? Which says no matter what convictions he gets, no matter what happens, nothing matters but voting on November 5th. So that's some pretty clever positioning to negate all of these other convictions and say all of that shit doesn't matter. If another trial gets done before then, doesn't matter. It's all about this November 5th vote. And they're smart. So they're smart at focusing their audience like lasers, right? And I don't think that people should underestimate how effective that can be. You got to give the guy props. He made himself the most powerful, influential person for a generation globally. He's not going to go down easily. But I will enjoy every single moment of trying to make him. That's for sure.
Yes, because I keep on telling everyone, like, this is the return on investment. Ever since he rode down that golden escalator up until yesterday, all the frustration that you felt, all the lies, all the times you rolled your eyes, all the times you said, oh, come on, man. Because yesterday was the first, hopefully, of 4 rewards because hopefully he doesn't win the next election. The other 3 trials go ahead.
Cheers to that, my friend.
Cheers to that. Now, the fun thing about this one, though, however, because when they're talking about sentencing, they're saying, the majority of people are saying that he probably won't go to jail. Somebody did a study of Class E convictions, and that's Class E as in the letter of alphabet and not classy convictions, Donald. Just so we're clear.
Be conflated with classy.
My convictions are so classy. The classiest convictions. Everybody's lining up for my convictions.
Oh, you're so good.
let's buy the memorial plate set from Royal Dalton. I love
it.
These pewter figurines will look lovely on your mantelpiece. And we get a free set of Ginsu knives and a box of leftover drum steaks.
Oh my God, so good.
That sounds
a study, right? A study of them says that in the state of New York, about 70 to 90% of the cases do not result in jail time for a Class C felony. Now, of course, you have to remember that this charge on its own is normally a misdemeanor. It becomes a felony if it is done for the purposes of concealing or committing another crime. And in this case, we had 3 predicate crimes. We had violations of tax law, violations of federal election law, and then false business reports.
Right.
So there were 3 potential ones, and it could be any one of the 3 or all 3. That was the predicate crime. If the jury was convinced that he had committed one of those 3 predicate crimes, then it went from a felony to from a misdemeanor to a felony, and all 12 jurors decided that unanimously for all 34 counts. So each one of those counts carries a maximum of 4 years in jail and $5,000. Now, previously, in this trial, when Judge Mershaw was holding Donald Trump in contempt when the maximum fine was $1,000, he actually said to Donald Trump after the 10th one, if you continue this up, I'm getting the feeling here that money is not really an issue for you. So don't test me. I will put you in jail.
Yeah.
And I think Trump believed him because he sort of stopped screwing up personally around that time. But what he did was stomp his little foot and said, hey, all you Republicans, you're not paying enough attention to me, not coming up and giving me enough love. And that's when you started seeing the parade of people showing up at the courthouse every morning doing a little Donald Trump is the biggest victim and a political martyr type thing, up until the time you got the big one with his son, Cocaine Bear / Traitor Tot, with a whole bunch of people in the Trump uniform all wearing blue suits with red ties all in front of a mic.
Ugh.
Like this showing up. And a lot of people actually missed work that day to be able to go there because that thing we saw where Representative Jasmine Crockett asked a question of clarification with regard to Marjorie Taylor Greene's body and hair. That meeting was supposed to happen earlier in the day, but it had to get delayed because a lot of people that were at that meeting decided to take a trip to New York that morning to stand in front over there and, create this narrative that Donald Trump was some type of political prisoner being prosecuted in some way. And Donald Trump is already now referring to himself as a political prisoner. I personally think he should get jail for some of the reasons that you mentioned, Laura. Michael Cohen did go to jail for the same crime. Now, I'm not sure if Michael Cohen had a criminal record prior to Donald Trump, which may have gotten him some jail time. But the thing is that it seems to me that only logical that if Michael Cohen went to jail, and here's the thing is not only did he go to jail, but he went to jail, he was released, and then he was writing a book, and then somebody decided to arrest him and send him back in jail. So they came and got him out of his regular life and just threw him back into jail again. And then they had to turn him. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Bill Barr and Trump. They put him in solitary confinement. They literally weaponized the justice system on Cohen. And so, Cohen suffered, he deserved the 2 years. That shit at the end was horrible. He was talking about it last night on MSNBC. I don't think Trump will do jail. But I do think that, like I said, any kind of restriction on his life, anything here to me, this is where the real ball game is. And I tweeted this last night. Americans hate losers, right? They hate to lose. It is baked in the cake. If you've ever done business with someone from the U.S., they're about winning, and they like to be victorious, right? So you couldn't help but see Trump yesterday and not think he is a loser. He is losing. He is his arc is on the down. And so when I said last night, there are 1,000 private room meetings happening, in country clubs and wherever in the US and in boardrooms where people are sitting around going, okay, you know what? The instability that this guy's going to bring to the stock market's not good for us. He's not going to be able to get deregulation and stuff through, even if he becomes president, because there's so much shit around him now. He looks like a loser. He lost in court. I mean, I have to believe that the money classes yesterday were looking at that guy going,
right,
4 felony counts. Really?
Right.
We're really going to bake this into the cake of Trump is so dominant, so successful, so clever, so beloved that this isn't going to affect him. I think that's bullshit.
And are we really going to elect a president, especially that's going to do well for us on the business world, who can't travel outside of the United States to most countries now because he's a felon?
Well, I mean, all kinds of things, right? Like he can't come to Canada. Like he
He can't even vote for himself now.
Well, he can technically. I did hear that New York has a law now that says that he could, but he's a Florida resident. But someone was explaining that he might be able to. But the bigger point, to your point is that he's a convicted felon. It will destabilize his potential as president. And I have to believe that for all of the, the fundraising he'll probably do off small MAGA cult donors, I have to believe that the big guns, the ones who invest, are looking at him after yesterday and saying, I don't want Biden because Biden's policies keep my profit margins down, even though the stock market's at an all-time high under Biden. But this guy is a convicted felon. And I think that matters, no matter what Trump says and the gaslighting that it doesn't, I think it matters. It means it means that his little sauce, his secret sauce, his little super formula of always skating, of being Teflon, he's not Teflon. His pot is scratched now, Yeah. And I think they're going to look at that and say, okay, his time is done. I really hope so. I think that's what's the difference will be made is if he loses those money class in the Republican Party.
Yep. And I think he will, because the number one rule in Republican politics and conservative politics is you don't fuck with the donor's money.
Right.
And if he's proving that, it's like, okay, yes, we might get a whole bunch of things that we want, but he's going to completely destroy our business. I'm sorry, he's got to go. He just can't stay. The other thing, when you're talking about him being a loser, is it adds to the pile, right? Because this conviction suggests that he probably cheated to win with an asterisk the 2016 election, and then he lost the 2018 midterms, and then he lost the 2020 election, and then he inserted himself in the 2022 midterms, which was supposed to be the big red wave, and that didn't happen. And now you look at his fundraising numbers, he's in the toilet. You look at cash on hand, he's in the toilet. He's got now, he's lost to E. Jean Carroll. He's now lost in this case.
He's done.
And he's inserted his daughter-in-law to be the head of the RNC, and she has taken all of the RNC's funding towards his legal fees. So
the down ballot candidates are not being funded now.
They're not being supported. So Biden has a better ground game in those swing states, in those few counties that are going to make the difference here. Biden's got way more money. Biden's got global support. Biden should win this. He should win this. And I think that as much as Trump can run on the martyr thing, there are a whole lot of people who look at a conviction by 12 jurors that's unanimous on 34 counts and say, you know what, buddy, like time's up. I think to your point that you just made that he's done. I'm not ready to put the fork in him yet because authoritarianism is working together globally. There's a great book that's coming out about it. But I've
seen enough horror movies to know that Jason comes back for one last scare.
Right. And Jason's also back, but Jason came out and said that Putin was going to do everything to get him elected. So I'm not going to dismiss Orban and Putin and Xi and all the rest of them working together for Trump to get elected. I think we'd be foolish to think that they don't have some bigger plans. They're not idiots. I mean, Trump is a useful idiot, but Putin's not an idiot. Steve Bannon's not an idiot. These guys aren't idiots. So I'm not going to put a fork in Trump just yet. But I do think that yesterday hurt him, and I there's that wonderful scene in Iron Man 2, going back to my geek, where Ironman confronts the guy who almost killed him during the Formula One race. And he said, "You could have killed me. Why didn't you?" And his adversary said, "Because sometimes it's better to make God bleed, because then the people see God bleed." Right. And so yesterday they made Trump bleed. And I think that is as damaging to him as anything that's happened to him in his life.
Mr. Grizzly, do you happen to have the clip I sent you?
Yes, I do. Let me just cue it up here.
All right. This is the one of Trump being very, very just sad and pathetic, defending himself.
Oh,
it's almost even like his heart's not in it when he's doing it.
Here we go.
The judge certainly did everything.
Here's the former president, now a convicted felon 34 times, about to address reporters.
This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt. It's a rigged trial, a disgrace. They wouldn't give us a venue change. We were at 5% or 6% in this district, in this area. This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people. And they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here. You have a Soros-backed DA, and the whole thing. We didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged right now. This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent. And I think it's just a disgrace. And we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end, and we'll win, because our country's gone to hell. We don't have the same country anymore. We have a divided mess. We're a nation in decline, serious decline. Millions and millions of people pouring into our country right now, from prisons and from mental institutions, terrorists, and they're taking over our country. We have a country that's in big trouble. But this was a rigged decision right from day one, with a conflicted judge who should have never been allowed to try this case, never. And we will fight for our Constitution. This is long from over. Thank you very much.
Why should voters vote for a convicted felon?
Are you going to talk about?
Donald Trump not talking details of the case, but attacking, as he has pretty much every day, consistently and often late at night, the judicial system in the United States, claiming that this is rigged.
We can cut from this on in, Mr. Grizzly. So yeah, I believe we were supposed to remember rigged.
What I want to see one reporter to just go, "That's a lie. Everything you just said is a lie."
Yep.
That's a complete, total, and utter lie, and the people will not stand it. You've been convicted by 12 jurors, not a judge. The jury convicted you.
Yep. State charges.
The jury that you, by the way, approved, right?
Yeah. He's blaming Biden. They're state charges. Yeah. I'm just, I mean, like, but no passion, no fire. Like,
He knows he's done.
It's just sad. It's just, and not like boohoo sad. It's like, just like, girl, why did you bother?
You know who I felt sad for in that clip? So that lawyer next to him,
yes,
gave up his gig in a top Manhattan law firm, moved his family down to live next to Mar-a-Lago, and he's down
Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, that's a Michael Cohen thing. They're selling the shirts on Midas Touch Network. That's a prop to the guys at Midas Touch. But he moved down there. He gave everything to be this guy's one and only. And imagine the conversation in the limo leaving that with Trump. I mean, like, there's not amount of money, and he's probably not going to get paid anyway by Trump. No. But I mean, like, and all the people Trump's going to call. Imagine picking up there was one city councilor in Hamilton who used to, like, he was Trump-like in some ways, and he would call me, and I would always say, "Can you call me back in 20?" Because I knew I'd be on the road, and I could put him on speaker in the car and like drive to Toronto and ignore him. Like crazy, like when you have to get a phone call from someone who's raging. Imagine all the people Trump called on the limo on the way back, right? Having to hear that ridiculous, pathetic, raging victimization narrative. I mean, like, it's just, it honestly is hard to listen to. Like, when Trump is in his full, showman, Barnum Bailey thing, it's entertaining. When he is just a grievance-ridden, entitled, pathetic, disgusting human being, just standing up there whining and throwing in everything in the kitchen sink, including immigrants, into why he just lost a trial for business fraud. I mean, I think it turns the stomachs of the world to hear someone, as my husband always says, losers find a way to lose, and winners find a way to win. And he came out as a loser, and he sounded like a loser. And again, in a country that puts success above almost every other value, that didn't look like a successful guy. That looked like a pathetic guy with a bad lawyer who has no excuse and is just going to try to just throw everything at it. And it may, again, let's not get complacent. All it takes for a bad person to succeed is for good people to get complacent, right? I'm paraphrasing. Trump is still a huge existential threat to the world. And we've got less than 6 months to see that threat be vanquished. And then we'll have his children and his children's children, and the threat will evolve and morph into gross ways. But, let's deal with the problem in front of us, which is this guy has no money, has ripped off the down ballot access to cash, has no ground game, is counting on such xenophobia and rage and racism and fear of others to push him over the top. And again, just to circle back with a pretty little bow, our conversation around Ford, the reason why I have had zillions of hate messages while I've been sitting here, the reason why I went at Ford and held him accountable for what he said yesterday is that that's the same stuff. It's the same stuff we heard Trump say in that clip, right? It's that same idea that others are bringing their problems and therefore. And Trump's 2025 plan is to mass round up 15 million immigrants and put them in camps. He has said that. They've written it. They've published it. He's done interviews about it. So, I mean, we're not just facing down this disgusting man. We're facing down cruel fascist policies. And we cannot, in Canada, allow rhetoric that even comes close to the shit that Trump says be ignored and be left unaccounted in this country. As soon as we start to normalize that stuff, we're going to be where the U.S. is 10 years from now. We're going to be exactly where they are, if not sooner. And we have to do it. So sorry to pull the bow around, but
no, that's all right. Laura, we just happened to get some live footage of someone receiving one of Trump's phone calls from the limo.
Ooh.
I was like,
oh, you have that?
Yeah, right here. It's like, oh, yeah, rigged. Oh yeah, terrible. Oh yeah, so corrupt, that judge. Yeah. Yeah, he really must be stopped.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll have my people call your people and we'll do lunch, okay? Yeah, all right. But I'm sure you have lots of people to call, Don. Yeah. Terrible. Yeah. Oh, going through a tunnel. Sorry, Don. Yeah, I know I'm in my living room, but going through a tunnel. Bye.
Oh my God, I freaking loved it. The only thing missing from that fabulous reenactment was the people in the limo with them all high-fiving and like popping off in the background in the dance tunes.
Oh man.
That was
according to a Marist poll, it seems that with the people, it seems 66% of Americans have said that the verdict won't change how they feel about Trump. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because there's probably some people that already thought he was guilty as sin, and that doesn't change anything. It just confirms them. So that can work both ways. But of the other people, it's about evenly split. 2/3 of registered voters said that a guilty verdict would not affect their vote, but 17% a guilty verdict would make them less likely to vote for Trump, and 15% said more likely.
So, I don't think the verdict itself in terms of the populace and their feelings about Trump is going to have an impact. I think it's going to be the pragmatist money class that makes his campaign hard to manage. But then he's got Russian money, right? If he needs it. I mean, that's basically what he telegraphed the other day. So maybe even the money won't be what stops him. I think what's going to stop him is an overwhelming show out at the election. We see what's happening in streets, in communities around the world. Look at what's been happening in Georgia as they're trying to fight back against that foreign interference, Russian-style rule that's going to crush their democracy. The people are packing the streets, right? We saw that in Germany when the tape was leaked by the fascists talking about their fascist plans.
Yes.
And the Germans showed up where they were going to take out people who weren't of German birth out of the country. They got caught on tape. So, I mean, we saw the Pussy March after Trump got elected, the million women in those hats. We're going to need to see the kind of show up at the polls in the US. And we're seeing, the Democrats realize that gerrymandering and poll suppression and voter suppression and violence and all the stuff that you mentioned earlier with that mother and daughter who got, accused by Giuliani of stuff they do. They know that that's happening. There were four governors from different states or AGs from different states on Meet the Press this weekend. They had an actual topic of the show was the threat to democracy. They were all talking about all the measures they're taking in their states to make sure that they can have a free and fair election and people won't be intimidated. But Americans are going to have to show up en masse. They're going to have to leave their phones and use their feet because if it comes down to a squeaker, then you know what? We'll have a civil war, in my opinion. That was trending last night, right? If it comes down where it's not a squeaker and that there's really no logical conclusion that Trump won, then people might in fact decide that they're done with this era of crazy. But it's going to have to come to that. So while I think the trial is something to celebrate because it makes Trump upset, and while I think that him not having money and all these other things are things to be excited about, at the end of the day, if Americans don't put their feet and their money where their mouths are and show these guys because the way that authoritarians win, right, is they convince the rest of us that they're both indomitable and inevitable. And so they have to show up and say, you're not inevitable and you're not indomitable. There's more of us who are normies or more of us who are ex-Republicans or more of us that just don't want this for our country. We don't want our experiment to end after 200 and however many years or however many years they've had it. So that's the only thing that's going to stop Trump, in my opinion, is an absolute show of democratic force. Of alignments. And that's why Liz Cheney gets props from me. I can't stand her dad, and I've not liked the Cheneys my entire life. But man, she stepped up to the moment, right? And anyone like Larry Hogan, the governor he was running for Senate, he put out a tweet last night, and immediately the MAGA powerful said, "You just lost the election, buddy. Like you can never be part of the MAGA tent." But you know what? Larry Hogan said what every single leader in the U.S. should say last night, which is we need to respect the rule of law in this country. So props to him, right? Props to Larry Hogan for having some balls.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. The last little bit of news that I got from it that I was able to glean is Michael Cohen having made a statement saying that he's satisfied by the verdict, saying it's accountability. It's exactly what America needs right now. We need for accountability to be had by all those that break the law because, as we like to continuously state, no one is above the law. And finally, in the United States, that kind of got proven a little bit yesterday, though every single possible accommodation to put him above the law prior to that guilty verdict being handed down was afforded to him. And in addition, in terms of consequences, it seems that shares in Trump media slumped after the verdict and was down 9% in after-hours trading. That stock price has been going down a lot because I think, as we reported not too long ago, I think they had reported losses of $328 million over the previous quarter with revenues of like about $700,000.
They overvalued the public offering so much so that it was a joke, right? Yeah. And it exposed the emperor has no clothes. I mean, every Trump business has a bankruptcy failing or something close to it, right? I asked he's not a businessman; he is a showman. And if the curtain is pulled back and we see who's really operating the wizard for what he is, I feel like yesterday maybe a little bit of that was happening, and so we'll see it in the raw numbers and stuff like that. What it's going to take is people need a permission structure to leave their fealty to him, right? Now, not the true cultists, because permission structure is not enough. They actually have to find value and salvation elsewhere. But the rest, have to have a permission structure. And so guys like Larry Hogan doing what he did creates that scaffolding that says, you know what, you can move over to Biden. You know what, there are enough Republican values to move to Biden that you can do it. You can do it because of the stock market. You can do it because of stability. You can do it because of the war in Ukraine. You can go over there just one more time. Yep. And I think that that's going to matter. But as a thought to leave our conversation with guys, because I do have a client I got to get to.
Yes.
But it's good to, I love unpacking all this stuff with you guys anytime. It's a lot of fun. And I think it's good for us to see all of it. At the end of the day, though, the only thing that stops the bad guys is for the good people to do something. Talking is one thing, but we have to talk to our neighbors. We have to, support the people who are on the side and doing the right things. When you see people like Larry Hogan say stuff like that, you got to say solidarity. We appreciate it. You have to empower people who are doing the good stuff to feel like they are supported. In any way that you can. We can't sit by. We have the longest undefended border in the world on the one side, and we got Russia on the other side above us, right?
Right.
We're not in a position for Trump to win and to do well by that. And so I think as Canadians, don't ignore it when Americans say stay out of our politics. Their politics is our politics. They sneeze, we get a cold. We are affected by everything that happens there, and it's existential for us. And it gives permission to authoritarians around the world and MAGA type rhetoric and xenophobic rhetoric that we saw from Ford yesterday, and the shenanigans we've seen in Poilievre's campaign. I mean, this is a threat to Canadians. And so while we like to make fun of Trump, it's not Trump's arrangement syndrome. It's actually protecting Canada to do what we can to stop this guy.
Yeah.
And
yeah, Laura, before you go, I just had one question, like very quickly. From the Trump side and from the Biden side, what is the thing that we should probably be looking for in terms of positioning or messaging that you think might be their next move that they'll attempt, and what should their next move be?
So Trump has already signaled his next move is he's going to focus like a laser on November 5th. His response after court for all of the other nonsense he threw in there, what was clever about it, it was in their video earlier in the day, was the only thing that matters is November 5th. So basically he smokes from any other convictions, from any other court stuff. That's the only thing. So that kind of laser targeting on bringing out the vote is very, very clever. And that's what they're going to do. And you're going to hear nothing but that. They are going to make everything else. They're going to mitigate any other interruptions, any other flaws, anything else that happens with the courts, because the only thing that matters is that. And they're going to drive their voters out, and they're doing it really, really well. What Biden needs to do is make it an election about Trump, because Biden has not done a good enough job on his Bidenomics, even though people are getting investments and they're having the best stock market and the best jobs and the best infrastructure builds in generations. And he's been the most effective president policy-wise of anybody since back in the day with, some of the big stuff that happened in the 1960s. He hasn't messaged it well. They haven't messaged it well. Americans aren't feeling it in their gut. It's not the conversation, even though it's always about the economy on some level. Biden hasn't done a good enough case of making it about the economy stupid. So this is an election where he has to speak to, this is about Trump. It has to be a binary on Trump. That's just the nature of where we are. And so we're seeing Biden come out attacking Trump more robustly, coming out more full-throatedly. We have got to see the Biden ground game ramp up seriously. And we've got to see what we're seeing lately is the Biden war room countering everything, pushing back on everything, constantly exposing the difference between. He has to make it so that even people who hate Democrats and fear the left and hate Biden personally are able to have a permission structure to say, you know what? I still need to vote for this guy to stop that guy, right? That's where
exactly.
So that's what I'd be watching for. And you know what? The O show, as you mentioned off the top, we went national 20 days ago.
Yes.
Yeah, we had 37 countries tuned in, which is really kind of cool. So we're talking about a lot of national conversations, but I see, as I said to you guys a minute ago, what's happening in the U.S. is inextricably tied to that. Our national fate depends on what happens in less than 6 months in the U.S. And so, on my next few guests on the O Show are, as I mentioned, I'll be talking to the guys from Ontario Place about their fight against Ford. And they got the New York Times, which is exciting for them, this big win. But also, I'll have on Gil Penalosa, who's an international urbanist, on the show next week. But I think in so many of the conversations I'll be having on the O Show, whether they're around homelessness or whether they're around Canadian politics or whatever, let's having the conversation always around democracy, because all of these things are underpinned, right? If we lose our ability to navigate and to elect representatives who represent our interests, whether they're progressive interests or otherwise, none of these other conversations matter. If we lose our democracies, our urban planning won't matter, right? Climate mitigation won't matter. Programs for the homeless aren't going to matter, because we're losing our ability to have agency. So, I had on Charlie Angus talking about the threats against Canadian politicians. People should check that out, because he's already seeing politics of intimidation. I had Kathleen Wynne on, the former premier, talking about the consolidation of power on the right. So, it's, my obsession is around retaining our agency and our democracy, because all of these other societal challenges that we're trying to address on the O Show and deal with, and all the corruption of Ford, etc., they are underpinned by us having the ability to do something about it. And if we lose our ability to be heard, then we can't do something about any of these things, So I just want people to, we'll do it on the O Show, but just to stay focused on the fact that, democracy is it's not a sure thing. It's a fragile gift. And many countries fight for it. Many countries have lost it. And we are, we can never take it for granted. It is the key to us fixing all of our problems, to have the ability to advocate and have agency. So that's what's coming up.
It's literally on the razor's edge right now, though. And with 84 Democratic elections this year.
Yep. Mexico is about to lose their facade. David Frum did an amazing pod the other day on the Bulwark about it. David Frum just saying that the president that might win in Mexico looks like they're a leftist Democrat, but they're not. They're a prop essentially for an authoritarian. It's global, right? And they're working. They're copying each other, and they're working on it. So we just can't go back to gardening and Chardonnay, as much as one would like.
But my glass is empty.
I'm getting another mimosa for my meeting with my clients. Trust me, I'm going to do a little celebration with them too. Anyway, guys, you guys are
Laura,
awesome.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you finish.
I was just going to say thank you so much for coming, but you were in the middle of paying a compliment, so I don't want to interrupt you.
You're fabulous and you're hilarious. And I was hoping I was going to get some eyeliner tips from you, because you were banging that shit out with your acting. I don't know why I'm gold liner on right now. It was fetching.
I had never done it so well too. It actually worked out so good for the photos.
Beautiful. Bring back makeup for men. Bring makeup for men, man.
Yes. Laura, thank you so much for joining us. I knew this would be fun. We were also hoping to have our friend, your old pal Drake Dragoulis from the What You Can Do Network in the United States join us. But he was very busy with commitment stateside this morning.
Did you see Hillary Clinton last night? Hillary Clinton was speaking at some university or something. She gets up to the podium and she goes, hi, I'm Hillary Clinton. Anything going on? And the crowd went like bananas, right? It's so good.
Yeah. Laura, congratulations on going national. Everybody, please check out the O Show. When's the next episode coming out, Laura?
Today. I'm talking to the guys from Ontario Place today. And
yes.
We just did a banger of a show, the O Show Scandal Panel on Doug Ford's mounting scandals. So we've got that. And as I said, I got Gil Penalosa next week. But you know what? The O Show is responsive, right? We're a current affairs show. We're Canada's current affairs show with strong opinions. So if something happens, then there'll be an episode. So just, you can listen to it, of course, across Acast and all that stuff. But also you can subscribe on YouTube if you want to watch the eye rolls.
Excellent. Thank you so much. You've got 5 minutes for the next meeting, so I'll let you bow out gracefully.
Okay, thanks so much, guys. Take care, everybody. Thank you for all the chat. Gotta get out of here.
Well, thanks for the invitation to Punta Cana, Canada.
You better come. I'm not kidding. I'm going to hold you.
Punta Canada. I missed that. I must have been
yes.
in transit.
Yes, you're away. Yes, we need to go visit Punta Canada because apparently there's great conversation and superb food.
Oh, is this a restaurant or?
No, I believe it's her. I would believe that it's her cottage or rest place in the summer months.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Punta
Okay.
Punta
Now
Canada.
I understand. Yeah.
Yes. Wow. That was. I knew that was going to be fun, but boys, is it? I just love Laura.
Yeah, she's awesome.
I just love her.
I wish I was able to stick around for
Me
everything,
too.
but sometimes life just hands you a different set of cards than you want.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I wish you could have stayed around, but of course, the awful and horrible and terrible silver lining is that I got to have Laura all to myself.
Well, yeah. I mean, there is that.
Which is
the
like
flip side
when
of
you're
that.
two calm geeks geeking out on stuff is such a horrible. All I do is give. No, seriously, thank you, because I'm glad that you were able to keep it going remotely, because she is just so brilliant, and she is quick, and she is fast, and she's frequently right. And plus, you add the style and the personality and the sense of humor and the strategically placed F-bombs and S-bombs and whatnot. I mean, she's just a delight. Smart people who know their stuff and can communicate with a minimum of personality, and she brings a lot of it. That makes me happy. That makes me happy. This show, when Laura comes on, it's almost no work for me. Because I could just let her talk and then just feed off her. She just says brilliant things. There's just a gem or a jewel in every second or third sentence that you can run off and have a conversation with.
She has the gift of the gab to the point where I was thinking, are you sure you're not Irish now? Because you've got the ability to carry on the conversation.
Indeed. Mr. Grizzly. Did you have? I know that you didn't have a lot of time today. So, did you have anything that you wanted to mention today?
No, I think you guys pretty much covered it. It's kind of the only thing that I wanted to talk about yesterday and we didn't get to was the Gmail issue with the Ford government. And I don't really have time to get into it. And I have another meeting in 2 minutes, so I gotta bow out.
Okay. Then we won't have an Easter egg today, kids, and I will do the quick extra, hopefully in 2 minutes, to get Mr. Grizzly out to his next meeting on time. Kids and Cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless, so tell your peeps and poops all about us. And if you don't want to miss a damn thing, you don't have to here at the Damn Fam, because the Ray Girl sponsored our pod page. So if you go to podpage.com/TheTrueNorthEagerBeaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words, click subscribe. When we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you. And if you'd like to support us in other ways, make like Kit Elaine and go to our True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, where you can click like, share, or subscribe. We've crossed 780. We're trying to get to 1,000 before Canada Day.
We're 790.
Oh, 790. Sorry. Yes, we crossed 790. So thank you, everyone who's helping with that. And the QR code that just appeared right there brings you to our pod page if you scan that. If you'd like to help us in other ways, the QR code that has just appeared now will bring you to our coffee page. That's where you can find our tip jar. If you like what we do and would like to encourage us to do more, just leave a couple of coins there for us. And trust me, it gets funneled into the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund, which makes it such that we can produce and bring the show to you, the show that you so love and enjoy. Thank you very much. Because democracy is something that you do. Again, if you're in Alberta, get involved in the NDP leadership race. If you live in Saskatchewan, British Columbia, or New Brunswick, please get involved provincially for provincial elections. From the Beaver Lodge, this is your Eager Beaver saying it could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, some words of wisdom, please.
I gotta go. Like, I'm literally late for a meeting, so I'm just going to end it now, and I'll talk to you soon. I really apologize, but prior commitments and responsibilities.
Yep. All right.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast.
The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors. The Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community. And The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.